Well, it's been 4 years since the water crisis in Flint was declared an emergency. And in that time, nearly $400 million flowed into the city from the state.
But we found exactly where that money went is unclear. In an ABC 12 investigation, Ann Perrett looks into those discrepancies.
The biggest red flag, what's being reported is not complete or transparent. So at the end of the day, the state is asking citizens who were misled by their government to trust that that same government is fixing it.
We're looking for cash, we're looking for resources, we're looking for services, whatever we can get.
January 5th, 2016, Mayor Karen Weaver's plea to the governor is granted. Rick Snyder declaring the water crisis an emergency freed up hundreds of millions in state resources for the city of Flint.
We need to get financial resources so that we can fund that nutritional support, early childhood education, repairing and replacing those lead service lines. Those are things that don't require a lot of inquiry. We can start those right away, and I hope that this declaration of emergency opens the door for those resources.
Money did come flowing in from the state and federal government, even celebrities and organizations from across the country. But 4 years later, the Weaver administration says they don't know where it all went.
The state has the cash. They decided who to give the cash to.
Okay.
Not the city of Flint.
Steve Branch is the former Flint city administrator. I sat down with him before Mayor Weaver left office to ask about this website's summary of Flint water expenditure tracking.
These are funds from the state.
Taxpayer money set aside for Flint by the state legislature. This Flint emergency appropriations and expenditure spreadsheet shows a total of $389.6 million dedicated for Flint. A majority of that has already been spent.
You got to think about it. If that amount of money came to the city, and where did it go?
We want to know where this money is coming because we're spending money as well.
Well, my first reaction was it's kind of overwhelming when you look at the pages and pages and pages of this spreadsheet.
Branch says the city of Flint only received $75 million of that $398 million that they could allocate. The spreadsheet shows how the money was spent. $6 million to change the drinking water source, another $25 million to replace lead service lines, and $42.7 million created water credits for people who live in Flint and paid their water bill even when they couldn't drink or use the water.
Well, I say since the government kind of messed us up with the water, they owe the people the receipts.
As a former financial program project manager, Branch agrees. He has a lot of concerns looking at this data.
On face value, it looks like, everything is on the up and up in the jet, but when you look into the details, you have questions, and that's what we have, questions.
I went line by line through this 43-page report and found more than 100 lines where money was dished out, but it's not clear who got it. It's these blank spaces raising red flags. Money went out, but the name of the contractor is left blank. For example, the Department of Environmental Quality got nearly $700,000 for lab and testing costs. They didn't do the testing, but it doesn't say who did. So who got that money? I went to the DEQ with that question, and a spokesman says throughout the report, contractor and vendor information is excluded, quote, in an effort to make the report more efficient and user-friendly for all interested stakeholders. And again, the state health department spent $3.6 million on nutrition assistance for children of Flint, but there's no one listed as the recipient of those dollars. Did that go to programs, outside vendors? The report doesn't say. So who got that money? This time, I went to the state budget office for answers.
If you're looking at a specific contract, we can get that information and we can find it and get it to people, but it's very difficult to collect it across all of the departments for this particular report we work on.
Kurt Weiss, a spokesman for the state budget office that runs the site, told me every quarter they send an email to state agencies to get an update on how they're spending the money. There's even an outside audit that makes sure it checks out. But why not release specific information to the public? We asked State Senator Jim Ananich.
The problem with so much of it was being done in the past, and that administration's gone now. There could be a a simple explanation for it, but we don't know. It means the public doesn't know, and taxpayers have a right to know.
Senator Ananich claims the Rick Snyder administration used this website to dupe people into thinking more was being done for Flint's recovery than he says the former governor actually did.
I mean, we've obviously put a lot of resources, many of which went to the places that were supposed to go, but a lot of those dollars are being inflated to look like they did something. This is the point I made early on and throughout the time of Governor Snyder's term. This is a public health crisis, not a PR crisis for his reputation. And that document, I think, further shows it was all about PR for them.
The Flint senator wants it to be more clear-cut and straightforward for the community to understand. The state budget office says you can call to get specific information on contractors, so I called just before 2 on a Monday and heard back a little more than 24 hours later with an answer. But residents tell me that's not good enough for them.
Right, we need to see plain and simple, like where did the money go? We don't want it in coded and stuff like that. Directly, where did the money go?
So hundreds of millions of dollars, and 4 years later, is Flint recovered from the water crisis?
Our city is still in the process of fixing the pipes. And if you ask any resident, almost to a person, is Flint fixed? They're going to tell you no. So we still have a long ways to go.
No, Flint is not fixed. And it's quite shocking that we are at this point.
Until they start bringing the water, it's not fixed.
The state budget office isn't sure how much longer they'll be tracking spending for the crisis recovery, but at least until all the money is spent. The website shows there's about $58 million left. To take a look for yourself, click on this story on abc12.com.